three best friends with very little rock crawling experience decide to take on the Rubicon Trail near Lake Tahoe, California. We survived Gatekeeper, The Bowl, Whalebones, Walker Hill, Nobby's Rock, and I even got my Jeep up a nasty obstacle called Soup Bowl. We're now headed toward Buck Island Lake, but the road isn't easy, and without Mike from Metal Cloak as our guide, we're now completely on our own. This episode is brought to you by Onyx Off-Road, the off-road mapping app we used on this trip, and the Rubicon Trail Foundation's recommended off-grid mapping software. After a quick damage inspection on Finnegan, which just showed a few scratches, we headed down Axel Hill towards Little Sluice, another famously treacherous part of the trail. But I was still in the afterglow of Soup Bowl and feeling grateful we practiced before coming here.
Clearly, if it wasn't for that guy, there's probably no way I would have got up. But I also had to drive it up. I only felt confident doing that because of all the seat time we've put in already.
So, Will, you're heading into Little Sluice.
There are three sluices on the Rubicon: Old Sluice, Little Sluice, and Big Sluice, and they all present you with problems. I was warned by a local not to try Little Sluice once he learned I was on stock axles, and looking back, this was probably good advice. Many people have had to leave the trail after attempting Little Sluice. And more than anything else, I wanted to complete the Rubicon.
Okay, so we are taking the bypass of Little Sluice. And that's because I stopped and talked to a local and he made it sound like I was crazy to do that on stock axles, which I need to listen to the locals when they tell me stuff. And I just walked it and it looks very doable, but there are a couple problems. And those problems, I think, being a first timer and being tired, I think those problems are probably not smart problems to try to tackle at the moment. So I am going to take the bypass, connect back to the trail, and keep going.
Are you doing Little Sluice, Will?
I think no.
Fair enough.
So I headed up the bypass, which, just like everything else on the Rubicon, wasn't easy.
I'm right behind you, Will.
The short bypass we took is a steep climb up and then a steep drop back down.
Bring it towards this rock. Yep. Put your front tire just over that rock. That's gonna give you a better line to come down in the back. Yeah, now straighten it out right there. Straighten it out, straighten it out, straighten it out. Straighten it out. Yeah, straighten it out though. As you come up, straighten it. Now go passenger. Here you go. Yeah. Crank it passenger so you can skip that in the back. You don't hit that rock in the back, but yeah, you're done, dude. Nicely driven. That was a hell of a bypass, yeah?
It's not an easy bypass.
There's a drop here I just snuck up on.
We were now descending Merlin's bench, which turned out to be a bit tricky. It pitches you down at 20 to 25 degrees, then swings you off camber by 10 to 15 degrees. So it feels like you might do a cartwheel down the bench. This obstacle wasn't even on our radar before we started, and was one of many that took us by surprise. After Merlin's bench, we snaked through some trees, and we're now close enough to Buck Island Lake to try to make the push to get there.
Looks like we're almost at V-Notch. Yeah, it's just past Mud Lake here.
Ready for V-Notch?
Yeah, I think so.
V-Notch is one of the few obstacles we drove that turned out to be easier than we thought. It still needs all of your attention, but we were able to draw from the preparation we'd done in the Idaho Owyhees. This is one of the few obstacles where the Bronco's width actually helped. Lance was able to reach across the rocks to keep his tires in a great position. As we started climbing up a massive granite rock face with Spider Lake to our east, we entered private land for the first time. But the owner of this land is the Rubicon Trail Foundation, and the reason they bought the land was to preserve the trail and keep it open. Whew, man, I am beat. We're 4 miles in. I don't know, we're maybe a mile from Buck Lake or something like that. But here's the thing about the Rubicon. You do like a named obstacle and you're like, yes, I did a named obstacle. And then the next thing that happens is like even harder than the named obstacle. And you're like, no one told me about this. And by the end of the day, you're just exhausted because it's like everybody says it's grueling and it's relentless, and it really is. It's all the in-between stuff that wears you out. So anyway, we're about to go onto Indian Hill. I've heard that it's kind of off camber, stair-steppy, which is not my favorite stuff, so I'm gonna have to like take my Xanax before we hit that thing. But sooner or later, we're gonna make the Buck Lake. Even if it's midnight, we'll make it there.
Make it to Buck Lake.
Boom.
Buck Lake.
Yeah.
Or bust. Buck Naked Lake. You know why they call it Buck Lake, right? It ain't because they saw deer. Just come a little bit driver as you come down and just kind of ride it out driver.
We were now approaching the entrance to Old Sluice, one of the last remaining relatively untouched parts of the Rubicon Trail. But it's an optional route, and from our pre-trip research, we had already decided not to take it. So instead, we started descending down the big granite slabs of Indian Hill.
For me, this has been the most fun section so far.
It's been the most relaxing section.
I mean, it helps that it's like a nice time of night. It kind of reminds me of Moab a little bit.
Yeah, it's very Moab-esque. This trail's like a bowl of ice cream after dinner. I just dropped off a cliff. That was not fun for the raptor. Lock it up. My steering wheel just coated in like sweat and dirt.
As we came to the end of Indian Hill, we were now just outside of Buck Island Lake, but the sun was setting and we were losing daylight, and we were mentally drained. It was here I was quickly reminded that every rock needs your attention, even if you're feeling tired. And there's no such thing as cruise control on the Rubicon Trail.
Slow, yeah, you got it. There you go. Well done, sir.
So after 10 hours on the trail, we finally made it to Buck Island Lake.
Lance, do you remember where Mike recommended we go on the lake?
Yeah, I've got a push pin.
Is that where you're headed?
Yeah.
The approach to Buck Island Lake is beautiful, especially in the waning light of a summer day. The lake feels like a point of refuge, and one of Mike's parting gifts to us was some recommended camping spots in that area. We decided not to try to camp on the lake, but instead worked our way around to a more secluded spot that might give us more privacy. After all, we're Idaho boys who are not used to crowds or camping next to people. So as much as we would have loved to be on the water, we chose the trees instead. Lance made steaks while we set up our tents, and as the moon came up, I finally had a chance to sit down and reflect on the day we'd had.
Well, we made it to Buck Island, and wow, what a day. I don't really know what to say. It like hasn't sunk in yet. I still don't feel like I'm on the Rubicon right now, even though I am. I mean, everything was just so intense today. Like, just right off the bat, it was like focus. And I think, we took some time to enjoy it a little bit, but it just hasn't quite soaked in. I wonder if this is one of those experiences that like soaks in after it's over, you know? So we found a nice little camp spot at Buck Lake. I call it Buck Naked Lake. I think that's a better name for it, but we'll technically it's Buck Lake, I think, or Buck Island Lake or some. Anyway, it's a great little campsite. We're tucked away in the woods. There's tons of people around here, but there's not a lot of people around us. So that gives us a feeling that, just a little bit more privacy. There's water everywhere, which is so nice. Like I got to rinse off in the stream and
just really clean all the dust off from today. So I'm feeling a lot better. There's some bugs out, so we have mosquito repellent and all that stuff on, but just had steaks. We're having steaks every night. I didn't film it because we're so tired. Lance made the steak so fast I didn't even have time to get my camera out. Now we're just gonna sit. I think we're just gonna like sit around and kind of like process the day, have some whiskey, look at the water, watch the moon rise, watch the sunset, and process all the stuff that happened today. Thoughts on the day?
You know, like, this was such a stressful day. But you know what? I would not trade it for anything. Being out here with you guys, all of us becoming more confident in our rigs. Lance and I were talking about, like, we just kind of feel like we just saw such a huge event today with you tackling and conquering Soup Bowl.
Oh my
like
God.
That was, so this is the way I thought it was going to go. Will's going to try it like 3 times and then be like, okay, time to move on. But dude, you like committed, and that gentleman from Tennessee coming in and spotting you.
Yep. He gave me hope.
Yeah, and the thing was,
Gave you a good spot.
He gave me a great spot.
Yeah.
Because I could have said no, I'm backing out. But like,
There was
something about him, like, gave
He
me
was
confidence,
very confident,
gave me hope, and I was like, all right, let's keep going.
yeah, and there was a couple of times
which
when
makes a good spot.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's another thing too, is like all of our, I feel like we're pretty good spotters going into this, and we've just gotten better and better and better.
Yeah.
So, and I know I appreciate you guys for spotting me, because I'm the one that asked for a spotter like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. It's so good, man. We're such good teamwork today.
Yeah, and I really don't feel bad about it, because you guys, you know, you're just there and to hold my hand and take care of me. But anyway, this has just been such an epic day, and I'm so glad that we're doing it, and I can't wait to see what we got for tomorrow.
Yeah. How was it today for you, man?
It was everything I thought it would be.
Wow, that's a big statement.
Well, I've been thinking about this for decades. Like, there were phases of the day. Like, we had the Mike phase.
Yeah.
And then it was the post-Mike
It
phase.
was the sink or swim phase.
Right? But then it became
Good way to put it. Sink or
the
swim.
us phase,
Yeah.
where we learned each other. I think we all grew individually. You know what I mean? So we're all in a different vehicle, different technology, a different situation. And I think we all crushed it.
What are your thoughts on tomorrow? Are you ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, we're gonna get our asses kicked again. This trail just takes that one time,
Yeah.
right? So we just have to be on point. You have to be in the now all day
Yeah.
long.
You can't take your eyes off it.
You cannot allow your mind to be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Wow. So today was all of the things. All of the things happened today, feels like, and we're still processing. So I think we're just gonna sit around, maybe drink some whiskey, tell some inappropriate jokes, and unpack what happened today. And hopefully tomorrow will be all of the things as well. So good night.
Hope. What's my definition of success? Listening to what your heart says. Standing up for what you know is right while everybody else is. Tucking their tail between their legs. What's my definition of success?